and he goes scorched earth, calls her Marjorie Taylor Greene, unendorses her over and over.
Marjorie Brown, he changed her.
It was so lazy, too. He says, because green grass turns brown. This guy's losing his juice. But the point is, Donald Trump has kicked so many people out of public life because they don't want to be the subject of his ire. This is what Mike Pence has gone through. This is what Liz Cheney has gone through. This is what Alyssa Slotkin is going through right now.
In this exchange, Brian Tyler Cohen pushes a single, unshaken premise: leverage is everything. Without leverage, Democrats have no bargaining power to protect ACA subsidies and SNAP assistance for tens of millions of Americans. Chris Cuomo argues that shutdowns are ineffective and politically damaging. But Brian pushes back with the reminder that without pressure, Republicans have no incentive to negotiate at all. The shutdown becomes less about winning and more about preventing the loss of healthcare access for millions. Chris frames the moment as the Democrats choosing the wrong battlefield. But Brian argues they are fighting on the only battlefield they have. Numbers strengthen his point. 78% of Americans support extending ACA subsidies, including many Republican voters. When a majority of the public supports a policy but lawmakers still move to cut it, the conflict becomes not just political, but moral. This moment shows how shutdowns are not just legislative standoffs. They are leverage born from desperation. Before we dive into the full story, don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Now, all that in mind, let's walk through the clips to the show, and along the way I will break down not just what was said, but what was really going on in the next studio. Now let's get into it.
And he goes scorched earth, calls her Marjorie Taylor Greene, unendorses her over and over.
Marjorie Brown, he changed her.
It was so lazy, too. He says, because green grass turns brown. This guy's losing his juice. But the point is, Donald Trump has kicked so many people out of public life because they don't want to be the subject of his ire. This is what Mike Pence has gone through. This is what Liz Cheney has gone through. This is what Alyssa Slotkin is going through right now.
Cracking. One of the president's most loyal followers for a decade says that she is resigning from Congress after a bitter fallout with President Trump. Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene has been very vocal about what she thinks the president is doing wrong lately, from the economy to trying to get the Epstein files hidden. And in turn, Trump has called her a traitor and unendorsed her ahead of a primary. Well, now Greene says that she is resigning effective January. And here are some of the reasons why.
Loyalty should be a two-way street, and we should be able to vote our conscience. America first should mean America first and only Americans first. Standing up for American women who were raped at 14 years old, trafficked and used by rich, powerful men should not result in me being called a traitor and threatened by the President of the United States. I refuse to be a battered wife, hoping it all goes away and gets better.
An extraordinary development for one of the main characters of the Trump era, frankly. And I should just note, just a few minutes ago over at ABC, Rachel Scott spoke to President Trump, and he called Marjorie Taylor Greene's resignation great news for the country. He said she didn't give him any heads up about it. Joe, I mean, can you imagine that this has ended this way? And is this a sign that MAGA is really starting to crack up over many things, but perhaps the Epstein files being one of the biggest things?
I definitely didn't have Trump getting along with Mom Donnie and him being against Marjorie Taylor Greene on my bingo card going into
none of us did.
None of us probably did. But I'm one of those people who is not entirely upset to see her go. You called her a character just now. You basically phrased her as a character. I think after 4 years in Congress, you either have to make the choice, have you become a statesman or a stateswoman, or have you become a cartoon character? And I think she realized that she was going down that latter path. She tried to rebrand herself. Remember, I mean, you're not a conservative and going on The View unless you're trying to remake yourself as this new person. She's tried to go on The View. She tried to say that she's no longer this divisive person, but someone who made a career of only being divisive to be divisive. I just think it's going to be no hard loss on the Republican
Party. I feel like
Party.
that was fine when she was supporting Trump, but now all of a sudden it's not.
It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene is realizing for the first time what it's like to be on the opposition side of Trump. She has clapped him on for years as he has over and over used the same vile rhetoric towards Democrats, towards other Republicans. But now she takes a principled stance for the first time and decides, I'm going to split with him on the Epstein files. And he goes scorched earth, calls her Marjorie Taylor Greene, unendorses her over and over.
Brown, he changed her.
It was so lazy, too. He says, because green grass turns brown. This guy's guy's losing his juice. But the point is, Donald Trump has kicked so many people out of public life because they don't want to be the subject of his ire. This is what Mike Pence has gone through. This is what Liz Cheney has gone through. This is what Alyssa Slotkin is going through right now. He calls Marjorie a traitor, says he wants to execute or hang Democrats. And now Marjorie...
You've answered the question that you asked about whether MAGA is fracturing. The truth is MAGA is not fracturing. If Donald Trump couldn't simply unendorse someone and that'll eliminate her chances of being there, that's only because the majority of people, whether they're in her Georgia district or elsewhere in the country, are going to follow President Trump.
Well, it hasn't eliminated her chance. She did get an endorsement the first time.
This is an entrenchment of MAGA.
She wasn't endorsed the first time by Trump,
a fracturing.
Do we think that this is the end of her political career?
No. I don't think so, but people are saying that. And you said that she tried to rebrand herself. I think that she's tried to rebrand herself a few times since she's been in office, whether it was, okay, I believe in conspiracy theories first, and then I want to be a team player, and now she's rebranding herself, which to me isn't her being a character. It's actually her saying, for whatever reasons, it's actually her saying, I'm caring about the people that I represent. I'm looking for my constituency, and I want to help them. So I don't think her career is over. However, this is highly unusual. It does not happen. And if it does happen, it's usually because somebody is sick or there's something else going on. And in my opinion, I truly believe she has a future, a bright future. Where she lands, who knows? But she did this knowing full well what it meant. I don't think that she took this lightly and said, I'm leaving, because I just feel like leaving.
But there are other cracks in the MAGA coalition right now.
Yeah.
Marjorie Taylor Greene is not just talking about the Epstein files, which is a big issue, and the entirety of the House and the Senate, save for one person, voted to release them, which despite Trump flip-flopping at the last minute, he clearly doesn't want these files out because he's been very opposed to it. But the economy, she's been saying, and she said in her video tonight, the economy is not working for regular people. Prices are too high. Not enough has been done about it. She doesn't think that the president is addressing that issue. And more Republicans are starting to say that too. So there are some cracks. And is Trump going to actually address that, or is he just going to go scorched earth on everyone?
So I don't think that is a crack in the MAGA coalition and the MAGA party. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene identified legitimate frustrations that not only MAGA and conservatives have, but anybody who wants their government to actually function. Everybody has those same concerns because the gridlock in Congress has gotten to a point where nothing gets done. And I think what Marjorie Taylor Greene is also hitting on frustration-wise is that we have a Republican majority, we have a trifecta. What have we gotten from it? There are Republican voters, low propensity Republican voters. They don't like to turn out. Democrats turn out better. And they turned out last November. They delivered this majority. What do we have to show for it right now?
And why are we still arguing? Why are we so mad?
Wouldn't Republicans say, oh, well, it's the tax cuts? I mean, I think this kind of puts that strategy right squarely on the table.
Yeah.
The tax cuts were what they spent all of their political capital on in this year. And voters are basically still saying they don't think that they're better off.
Well, and I think voters are saying that they're not better off when they think of one of the reasons Donald Trump appealed to people last election is people remember 2017 through 2019 under President Trump prior to pandemic, what the economy felt like. Things are trending in the right direction under Donald Trump, but that is not to say that there are still pains.
By what indicator?
For example, the wages, your average paycheck can pay for 1% more. Now, I'm not saying, wow, lucky us, 1% more. What I'm saying, though, is that is an indicator things are trending in the right direction, but it's not tangible. People don't feel it. And if Republicans cannot bring tangible solutions by November...
From a familiar broadcasting angle. Both sides. Equal scrutiny. Equal blame. But Brian Tyler Cohen rejects that framing, instead arguing that neutrality can mask accountability. If one side cuts health care, blocks Medicaid expansion, and reduces food support, naming that reality isn't bias, it's reporting. Neutrality, in this moment, sounds like flattening responsibility. Chris tries to balance the discussion by referencing elections, mandates, and fiscal concerns, but Brian's tone suggests something deeper, that factual outcomes matter more than rhetorical symmetry. When millions risk losing subsidies and benefits, the moral metric becomes weightier than the journalistic instinct to sit in the middle. The clash here is not hostility, but philosophy. Should commentary prioritize balance, or should it prioritize
anti-Israel, a more really populist movement versus now what's kind of becoming like the MAGA establishment, which is weird. So Nick Fuentes, he's a legitimate political operator. I know that he's like a hugely divisive dude online, but he is trying to make moves to gain leverage over the Republican Party. There is a very real chance that he capitalizes on this in such a way that Marjorie is then in his camp. I don't think that would be good for the current MAGA establishment.
I think the fact that she is actually resigning and talking bad about, in the sense of like, I'm out of here. It is a fracture. This is a huge fracture. You can't say that this person who was so loyal to him isn't a fracture. Trending in the right direction, someone would disagree with that. They'd ask about affordability and groceries and all of the things that we're going to talk about, obviously. But you can't, people are not feeling that way right now.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree, but I do think when we're talking about trending in the right direction, you're trending in the right direction when inflation is down under this president compared to last. Those are things that are moving in a positive direction. But I'm not disagreeing that the average Republican out there is saying, my grocery bills aren't going down that much, my gas bills haven't changed that much, so what are Republicans
We'll
doing?
talk a lot more about the economy in a little bit. I want to play a little bit more what Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying lately. This was on Sunday. She was talking about the political climate that she's in. Listen.
I would like to say humbly, I'm sorry for taking part in the toxic politics. It's very bad for our country. And it's been something I've thought about a lot, especially since Charlie Kirk was assassinated, is that I'm only responsible for myself and my own words and actions. And I am committed, and I've been working on this a lot lately, to put down the knives in politics. I really just want to see people be kind to one another.
So, Joe, I mean, I really want to know your kind of analysis of that. Do you believe that's genuine? Do you see why she would take that stance and then decide, I can't battle it out in a Republican primary? Trump's going to be sicking like 5 or 6 people on me in the primary. No, thank you.
This is someone who probably went home to her district, over the last shutdown, looked around and realized that in 4 years in the House of Representatives, she has made almost no impact for her constituents. She has been divisive for the sake of being divisive.
But that has never been a problem. Explain that to me.
She learns it from Trump.
But hold on. But
I've also never said that she's this great person.
But don't you think her voters have never been, if that is true, I think Democrats would argue that is true. Republicans historically have not said that about her, but if that is true, and her voters didn't really care until this moment, what does that say?
Look, what I was going to say is compare her to someone like Jim Jordan, who some people find abrasive. But his pugilistic style is to come with facts, he brings receipts, and maybe he rubs people the wrong.
Joe Borelli is going to use Jim Jordan as his example of not being divisive. Good Lord.
Way, but there's intention there, and there's a rationale. She just trolled people. She spent 4 years in the House of Representatives troll people for no reason. So,
she learned it from Trump.
Yeah,
Trump posted AI videos of Obama being arrested. Trump posts videos of Hakeem Jeffries in a sombrero. Trump says that Democrats should be executed. Marjorie Taylor Greene's style is downstream from Trump's style. It's not unique in any way.
Trump does all those funny things with an objective.
They're not funny. Wait, the execution of Democrats is funny?
The sombrero thing, if I could put the sombrero on you, I think it's hysterical. Yeah,
Why?
I think it's funny. I think it's fun. I think he's making fun of his opponents.
So what's the difference between what she does and what Trump does?
Exactly, you're defending it.
I think she does it for no purpose and for no gain, and she has nothing to show for it.
All right, we're gonna hit pause on this and continue.
Behind statistics and party arguments lies the heart of the debate. Healthcare access is not theoretical. SNAP benefits, food assistance, ACA coverage, Medicaid, these are lifelines, not abstractions. Cohen emphasizes that Republican-led cuts directly affect families in states like Texas, Florida, Tennessee, and West Virginia, places that rely most heavily on ACA enrollment. When policy hits the people who vote for it, politics becomes personal. Chris Cuomo questions whether a shutdown helps or hurts, suggesting it inflicts pain on the public while parties negotiate. But Brian responds that without pressure, those negotiations may never come. In this framing, the shutdown becomes less about politics and more about preventing loss. It's a conflict defined by immediacy, pain now to avoid collapse later. The debate reflects a core tension. Is harm justified if it prevents deeper harm, or is any harm unacceptable regardless of outcome?